All right. How's it going? Good evening. Hopefully you're all having a good Wednesday afternoon so far. Good to see you guys. It's been a little bit. Hopefully everybody's getting in here okay. Doing fine. Awesome. I'm good. Our family kind of situation that happened last week is on the tail end of being resolved, and people are doing much better. So hello, you want to say hi? No. Yeah, I had a family member who was struggling with some mental health issues, so luckily we got them the help they need, and they're hopefully doing much better and on the up and up. So but yeah, so that was pretty crazy week last week, so hopefully you all are doing okay. I did go in and adjust some of the assignment dates, so you can take a look at that. Luckily it shouldn't affect too much. I just kind of bumped everything a week, so it should be just fine. But on the agenda for today, we are going to be taking a look at some Illustrator stuff. So we've moved out of the realm of Photoshop for now. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Okay. Yeah, so we've moved out of the realm of Photoshop. We're jumping into Illustrator for a week or two. We're gonna be working on some logos. So let's show you guys the assignment for this week, or the next week or two. This will count as our 6th meeting technically, but I deleted the attendance question for week 5, so this is technically week 6, but you know, we didn't meet last week, so let's see here. Thank you. So we are going to be talking about color, size, emphasis, and readability this week. Okay. And in doing so, you're going to be creating your own game logos. Okay. And you're going to be doing it based off of one of these two images. I'm trying to keep it pretty limited in scope, so you don't have endless amounts of possibilities to go out and build different logos. Okay. So I either want you to build a logo for this game, the screenshot that you see here, build a logo that you see would work for this game, or build a logo that you see would work for this game. Okay. What I want you to do is kind of take in the environment that you see, take in elements and maybe characters potentially, right? In order to help you create this unique design. All right. This logo. Okay. So, keep in mind our discussions on color and size and emphasis, right? That we talked about in our last few discussions, right? We want to create something that is eye-catching and iconic, right? So remember that less is sometimes more in logo design, right? You don't necessarily need to have a billion elements in order to create something impactful. Sometimes having too many elements coming at you on the screen can detract from your overall design. And it can make things crowded or messy, right? So we want to make sure that we're getting something nice and clean. It doesn't mean you can't have detail in there, right? But that's the idea. Grim, it could be both. So you could do like a text type, like a font type logo, right? Or you could do like an actual just logo itself, right? So it just depends on what you come up with it. So if it in turn is like, hey, I think I have a title for this game, and I kind of want to bring the type, the text type into that, then yeah. Oh my goodness, my allergies. Okay, so some examples of logos, right, that we've all seen, right? Pokemon is obviously iconic, right? This the font of Pokemon and just this image anywhere is super recognizable, right? The new Metroid Dread game went pretty straightforward, right? Didn't do too much here, but I really do like the contrasting colors, the big bold letters, right? Again, here's another Pokemon one. I kind of cheated by taking 2 Pokemons, but I also really liked the idea of Unite here. The Gunk is also another great one. This very like brush type font, which I enjoy. Overwatch is a very simplistic logo, but one that everyone recognizes. Same with Mortal Kombat and Gears. These are no text in any of these, right? Roblox doesn't have any text. So I tried to give you a good mixture of text type logos as well as logos that didn't have any text. Okay. So this is the idea. When you're all finished with this, you're going to just create your logo. You're going to place it and export it out as one PNG and submit it through Canvas. Okay. And then I'd also like you to submit your Illustrator file. All right. So any questions on the assignment itself? Because I do have some stuff to talk to you about today. I've got another slideshow for y'all that I think will be interesting, hopefully. But any questions on the assignment itself? So you're just creating one logo. You're not creating a logo for both of these. You're just picking one. Okay, so you're either going to pick the top one, right, or the bottom one. You're just building one logo. Okay. Okay, doesn't look like it. If you have any questions, just let me know. Throw them in here in the chat and we'll talk through it. But if not, let's jump into our slideshow for today, okay? Let's see if I can get in here. Okay. So hopefully I'm not in the way. If I need to move my face around, I will. But we are going to talk today about readability, visual hierarchy, and branding. Okay. Things that all kind of go into logo design. All right. So when we're talking about readability, things I want to discuss when we're talking about readability. Okay. There's a dominant definition that you're going to hear about when we're talking about this principle. Okay. And that is that the arrangement of fonts and words in order to make written content flow in a simple, easy to read manner. Okay. That's the definition right now. The arrangement of fonts and words in order to make written content flow in a simple, easy to read manner. That's the definition that you're going to hear all the time when you hear about readability. Okay. Now, with that being said, this definition is helpful, but this word gets thrown around a lot when we're designing games. Okay, it's a word in the EAE program that gets thrown out all the time. Readability, readability, readability. You're designing a character, readability. You're designing a font or a logo, readability. You're designing a user interface, readability. It's something that gets talked about a lot, and your professors are going to kind of harp on it a lot. So I want you to be clear and hopefully understand a little bit more what we're talking about when we discuss this. Okay. So when we're talking about readability, right, I have sort of an updated definition that I think makes a little bit more sense that I use when I'm talking about readability. Okay. My updated definition, okay, if I were going to change it to what I think we necessarily need to hit on when we're talking about readability, is the arrangement of design elements in order to make the final product's content, right? Your final product, whether it's a character, logo, user interface, right? Any of those things, okay? design elements in order to make the final product's content flow in a simple and easy to read manner. So, simple, easy to read manner. Okay. So, all elements in that design should be visually distinguishable from one another. Okay. What's the problem with a couple of these logos that have been created, right? Some of these are not great, right? The readability is off. You can see what they were going for, right? I can't remember the exact company that this is, right? But this is not good, right? You could tell what they were going for, but the readability is not good, right? It looks like something that they weren't trying to achieve with that logo, right? You can tell what they were going for, but that's just not great. Same thing here. I could see what they were trying to do, right? Trying to make some sort of interesting K logo, maybe in the shape of a pill, right? But this is not good, right? The readability here is all wrong. It's just portraying something that you didn't mean it to portray, right? Where afterwards, this is still sort of that same pagoda design, right? But it's a lot more readable, makes a lot more sense, and is hitting the nail right on the head, right? For whatever this company was, I can't remember. But Kudawara also took a little bit more of a simplistic approach, which I appreciate, right? I do not mind text-based logos if you have a really clean, concise, simple logo that goes along with it, right? This is both of these are a drastic upgrade from their previous versions, okay? So when we're talking about readability, this is the situation you can put yourself in, right? Negative space and other things play a factor in your design, okay? So it's these are not good, right? Don't fall into this trap. Okay. Continually, when we're talking about readability, let me move myself while we're on this next slide. Okay. Which genius thought about that? I don't know. I'm not sure. These principles, okay, when we're talking about readability, these principles don't only apply to logos, right? I kind of already hit that point, but they don't only apply to logos, right? Every aspect of a design, ranging from character design, even to heads-up displays, like I said, HUDs, right? You need to make sure that things are readable and easy to see, right? I love Metroid Prime's HUD system because it's so easy to tell what's happening on my screen, and it's so it's not so in your face that you can't focus on what else is happening, right? It also feels like you're inside of Samus's helmet, which is super cool. Okay. I'm concerned about how many people saw it and approved it until it went public. Yeah, I understand. I don't know how that got shipped. Okay. Concerning characters, okay, when we're talking about characters, like I did put a couple of silhouettes up here, right over here. I can't tell where my fingers. Anyways, over here on the screen, okay, we put a couple of silhouettes up there. If your initial silhouette is hard to read, that can have a poor waterfall effect that can lead to just a terrible design, right? All these silhouettes are super iconic right here, right? You're not going to have a hard time recognizing this character against the background that it's on, right? Because it has a great silhouette, okay? Easy to pick out points, peaks, and valleys that are very distinguishable, okay? Great silhouettes. If they were all just blobs or had a really hard time seeing certain things, this silhouette might be the weakest out of the entire bunch. But anyways, it's still pretty decent, okay? But that if your initial design looks like this, like what we thought, I don't know how this made it out the door, right? Because this is easily able to tell that this is not great, okay? Same thing here. If your initial silhouette, if you're building a character, you're trying to make sure it's readable on that page or against its background, and your silhouette's muddy and messy, your character is going to look muddy and messy, right? So it starts simple. So when we're talking about good HUDs, right, good heads-up displays, a good HUD's primary objective, right, is to provide the user with information quickly and efficiently, right? quickly and efficiently. I'm fighting a boss. What can I tell on my screen? Okay, I've got this much health left, this much energy left. Okay. My boss's health bar is here, right above the screen. My radar, my different ability types, my different weapon types, my mini map, my missile count, right? It's all right here in my field of view for me to see super quickly. Okay. There's a reason why other games end up needing like mods to fix their UI because they're just not readable, right? Okay. So, continuing on, okay? Here's some other great examples of good HUD design, all right? We're talking about Assassin's Creed. Okay, I think this is Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. When you're playing this game, okay, it's very easy to read what's happening here. Here's your infamy level. When you're playing the game, these things make sense to you because they've been described, but you've got your different abilities, actions that you have available to you. They're laid out in such a way which you can tell if I press a button, I know what's going to happen, right? My mini map is ready and available in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. And then I've got money in my equipped weapon currently. It's not flooding the screen with a bunch of stuff, but it's there and easy to see, okay? My favorite UI of all time, possibly, is Persona, okay? And while it's out there and crazy, it's also super easy to read and tell what's going on because they do a great job of putting the buttons in the exact order that they're in on the controller, right? Bam, there's your controller. Okay. Your HUD is right here. It shows you. Okay, triangle, square, circle. You know what's going to happen when you press those buttons. Okay. You've also got everything clear and concise. They use specific colors to notate health and SP, so you don't even have to look at the number. You can just look at the bar and tell how you're doing, right? Very good design. Okay. Wacky design, but very good. It's cool, right? There's not a lot of games like Persona 5 that do it so well. The last one here that's super cool is Dead Space, right? And you've got Jacob's health bar and his energy right here on his back. This is the only HUD in the game, right? But it's displaying all the information you need to know about your character. Very easy to read right on his back, right? Very cool. Not a lot of games have ever done this, right? Where your character is the HUD. Super cool. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good question to ask. I'd be curious to know how well the accessibility works for everybody. Okay. Next thing we need to talk about, visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy is used to rank, right? Design elements. It's used to rank design elements and influence the order you want your users to view them, okay? So here's an example of an image. Maybe this is going into some sort of, product ad or something, okay? By using principles like contrast and scale, balance and others, okay? Many more, you can help establish each element in its rightful place and help the most important elements stand out, okay? Right here, there's no scale being used here. It's just a diver and a whale placed on the same screen. The diver's even bigger than the whale. It doesn't make sense, right? Depending on what the ad is for. But here, bam, you've used scale, right? In visual hierarchy, now this whale is the thing that's capturing your eyes, and then the human diving, it just gives it a little bit of sense of awe and wonder of how big this creature is, right? This makes more sense to our brain too. Just bigger elements. If everything on the page is the same size, it's hard to focus, right? But here we have something that becomes a visual focus, and then we can move around the rest of the screen, right? Okay. So when you want to use scale to your advantage, let me move myself again. You don't need to see the whole Call of Duty game. So using scale to your advantage, right? Size is going to be the most effective tool that you have in order to emphasize specific areas of your design, right? If something's big, boom, it's on the screen and you can see it, or it's on your product and you can see it. It's part of your logo, whatever it is. If it's big, it's going to draw attention, right? So making things larger does that. Okay, it's the reason why so many products that you see every day, right? Logos, text is huge, right? Anything that you buy, you see, right? Things are big in order to stand out, okay? Many different outlets throw giant words and images in your face, right? It gets you to pay attention. When you see this thing on the shelf, when mom and dad are walking down the aisles during Christmas time, right? To get game for little Jimmy or little Sally or whoever it is, right? Call of Duty, boom, right on the shelf, right? The shelf is right here. Call of Duty is the biggest thing on that box, okay? They're going to go, oh, I've heard them talk about Call of Duty before. Yeah, this must be great, right? They don't even have to see gameplay. They just see Call of Duty, wham, right on the screen, or right on the, not on the screen, right on the box, okay? It gets you to pay attention, okay? And then the next thing that we could talk about, the next tool that is kind of in your toolbox, right, is perspective, okay? Let me move myself again. You don't need to see the whole GameCube logo. You know what it looks like. So, perspective, right, is another tool in your toolbox, because what does it do for you? It creates depth. Designers can create illusions of depth ranging from a few inches to several miles, right, by using perspective. We can generally perceive larger objects as being closer than similar smaller objects, right? But the rated M logo. True. These objects will usually command attention, right, before any other design element on a page, okay? So, before we have Mr. Office Worker sitting at his desk, okay? Everything's sort of on the same plane. Not super interesting to look at, right? But then we shift this and give ourselves some perspective, right? We give the desk some depth. We give everything on his desk. Everything on his desk right now is like the same size, right? The laptop feels similar to the picture, to the pens, to the plant. But now we get here and there's a variation in size on all these objects. It gives us something to our eye to dart across the screen and look at, right? We see how he's kind of oriented on his desk and how his whole setup is, right? This is much more visually interesting to look at, okay? Yeah, not meant for kids. Call of Duty, I may have made a bad analogy of little kids, right? You're not buying Call of Duty for little kids. But when somebody's buying a gift for somebody or buying a game, walking down the aisle, right? For sure. But guess what? Call of Duty is much bigger than this rated M is. That's for sure. Okay. Same thing with the GameCube logo, right? If the GameCube logo was just a flat, diamond or whatever shape without the shading to give it depth, would not be nearly as interesting or as iconic, okay? There's a reason they chose to do a cube, a shaded cube, right? It goes with the branding of the console itself. The color was chosen in order to go along with Nintendo's classic purple that they use on a lot of their consoles, right? So this is much more visually interesting than if they just did this G sort of look without the depth, right? Okay. Let's talk about color and contrast next. So just like size, bright hues can usually draw greater attention than duller colors can, right? When those colors are super saturated, they pop, right? Draw a lot of attention, okay? If a single word in a sentence is highlighted without a brighter color, it's going to stand out to the reader, right? If you're looking at this box while you guys are probably sitting at home, this green word probably popped out on the page to you, right? It's highlighted. It's different. This brighter hue here drew some attention, right? Okay. Dramatically contrasting colors are going to emphasize specific design elements more than a gentle scale will, okay? There's a reason why on this Spider-Man cover they chose the dark background with the bright fist with the emissive happening off of it, right? They're saying, hey, you know Spider-Man. You all know Spider-Man and love and know Spider-Man, but look what this Spider-Man can do. You never seen Spider-Man with an electric fist before. Look at this. Right? Your first thing that your eyes go to on that cover is wham, right to this fist. Whoa, I didn't know Spider-Man could shoot lightning, right? Okay. Placing red on a green background will have a greater impact than that same red on an orange background, right? The contrasting colors are going to pop. Okay. So we're still talking about contrast, right? Designs that use too many contrasting colors can lead to unorganized or incohesive products, right? The same can be said for using color schemes that don't necessarily adhere to principles of color theory. This is the worst website page I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if it's real, but I just grabbed bad design, right, from a website. I just started searching. This is terrible, right? This is hard to look at. The colors are all over the place. You know, it's like word art from old school Microsoft Word. It's just bad, right? The colors do not go well with one another. You've got blues sitting on top of blues. You know, it's just not a great design, okay? Purples sitting on top of purples and reds. It's not great, okay? And then this black text sitting over the top of dark blue. It's terrible. It's horrible to look at. Okay. Color choice and color contrast can drastically affect your audience ability to discern the background from the design, right? That's why, right? Hypnospace Outlaw, where you browse websites. That's hilarious. So your color choice can drastically affect your end user's ability to read the background from the design, right? Which is why we have spent time discussing color and perspective, okay? So there's these images here reflect your ability to discern the background from the initial image. This pink and green is a lot easier to kind of discern from this red and orange. It's almost too saturated, or sorry, red and green hurts a little bit. But this orange over the top of this kind of cooler gray, really easy to tell, easy to understand. So let's take a few more thoughts on visual hierarchy. Here's some closing thoughts, okay? There are several other principles of visual hierarchy. If you're a graphic designer, there's almost a Bible that you can find out there that kind of goes over all these different aspects of visual hierarchy, okay? I just wanted to hit the main ones that are necessary for you guys to understand for your upcoming assignment, okay? There's an amazing article that I pulled a lot of this information from, right? And it comes straight from, I think is it Visme? Let's see. If that link will work. I'm not sure why it's not working. There we go. Let's see. So this is a really good article. You can read through this if you guys want, right? There's 12 principles. We didn't cover all 12, but if you have any inclination or interest in that and want to read more of them, some more suggestions for you. Some of the other stuff we've covered in our other slides, right? In other assignments. They talk about line a little bit and some other things, okay? So the next thing I want to talk about is branding. All right. The last thing is branding. So we have our lovely SpongeBob here talking to us about branding today. Okay. A brand is a feature or a set of features that distinguish one organization from another. A brand is typically comprised of a name, tagline. You've got logos, symbols, brand voice, right? there's other things too, right? But it also refers to the overall experience a customer has when interacting with each one of these products or businesses. Okay, there was a distinct difference as a kid, right? If your mom brought home Cocoa Roos or if she brought home Cocoa Puffs, if you're in the US, right? I don't know about some of the international students that are here, but if same goes for other name brands and off-brand products, right? You wanted the Cocoa Puffs when you were a kid. Okay. But let's change our thought process here for a second on branding. Okay. Again, I'm going to give you a Chase definition on this. All right. A brand is a feature or a set of features that distinguishes one game from another. A brand is typically comprised of a name, tagline, logo, symbol, design, brand voice, more. It also refers to the overall experience a customer undergoes when interacting with a game. So we're kind of focusing it in more on stuff that pertains to what we're trying to learn in our class, right? So instead of products, let's talk about games, okay? There's 3 ways branding can affect games, and you've possibly been shown this your entire life and you may have never noticed, so I'm here to try to enlighten you a little bit, okay? Mascots. You all know these guys, right? I'm sure most of you know who each one of these characters are because they're from the big, publishers. Mario is Nintendo's mascot, right? Through and through. He is the mascot for Nintendo. Master Chief. Xbox would not survive without Halo, okay? It was their flagship title, and Halo has carried Microsoft through some tough spots, right? And Master Chief has been their dude all the way through it, okay? Maybe not the same for Jak and Daxter, but he was a part of the era where they were trying to make these iconic mascots, right? Jak and Daxter were a big part of PlayStation 2 and PlayStation's early branding in these 3D mascot platformers, okay? And then Sonic was Sega's poster boy, right? Sonic was built to compete with Mario, okay? All right. Mascots, okay? You've seen them everywhere. Now, with this type of branding, there's some pros and cons that come with this, okay? Pros to having a mascot, it's the most versatile, okay? Licensing to all manner of products, right? You can throw plushies, shirts, stickers, bottles, plates, towels, kids' underwear, socks, whatever. Like everything under the sun has a Mario on it somewhere, right? Dish towels, loofahs, whatever. There's so many different things and products that have been covered in these mascots, right? The cons for this is that following can be limited for each character, right? If you're not interested in that mascot, boom, out of here. I'm out, right? And heavy lifting is done by the mascot itself, right? Mario himself is doing the lifting, while his games may become secondary. There's some Mario games that are amazing, right? And there's some Mario experiences you're like, meh, not so great. But I love Mario, so I tried it, right? That's the thing, right? Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, Mario Kart, Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, right? There's all these different things where Mario is doing the heavy lifting. Master Chief doesn't necessarily have that. There's just Halo, right? Jak and Daxter did go through that same process, though, on the PlayStation. You had Jak and Daxter. You had Daxter, which was just a character by himself where Daxter was in the game. Then you had Jak Racing. So there was all these different type of things, okay? Sonic's been through his own plethora of games and things as well, right? So, versatile, and you can have tons of product licensing, but it's limited to that mascot itself. And if that mascot's not hitting, then it's not going to work. The next one here, okay? Mega franchises. These you have seen your entire life, okay? All of these big name titles are mega franchises, okay? And these stand alone on the name themselves, right? If people hear there's a new Grand Theft Auto game, they're going to go buy it, right? If people hear there's a new Battlefield game, they're going to go buy it, right? Even maybe not now with their past few titles being not great. But Battlefield was a huge name as well. Gears, also part of the reason why Xbox survived, right? Final Fantasy is one that I have loved my entire life, and anytime anything Final Fantasy pops up, I'm gonna buy, okay? Blinks the time sweeper for sure, right? Call of Duty, which we've already talked about. What else is there to say about Call of Duty? Okay. Pros and cons to these types of things, okay? Pros to mega franchises, right? You have huge impacts on pop culture. You've got athletes, pop stars, things like that promoting your game, right? Taco Bell putting your logo and your franchise on their box meals and crap, right? Fans know what to expect when they see something from your franchise. When you see a Final Fantasy game come out, you know, if you love Final Fantasy, you go, wow, I'm buying that because it's Final Fantasy. Same with GTA, same with Battlefield, same with Gears, okay? Sequels are often easier to design, right? Okay? And they are cash cows, right? These games bring the bread, okay? They make money. There's a reason why they keep making them, because people keep buying them. The cons to this is that it's hard to keep up quality and consistency. Ask Battlefield. They have fallen off a cliff, right? There's a couple Final Fantasy products in there that haven't been so hot either, right? Call of Duty is up and down. Sometimes they're amazing. Sometimes they're just phoned in, right? The franchise has complete control once you establish a design and you are locked in. It's hard to change anything about any of these games or designs, right? If you change something, your entire fan base is going to be upset. Okay? Boots on the ground being removed out of Call of Duty games made the Call of Duty fan base go up in arms, right? Okay. Then the last one we can talk about here is studio branding. Okay, this is the last one of the three that I'm going to talk to you about. You all know these studios. You've seen games from every one of these studios, okay? Valve is huge. Huge. From Software, one of the biggest names out right now, especially with Elden Ring. Blizzard, in its peak, was peak games, right? You knew when a Blizzard title was coming out, it was going to be good. Not so much anymore. They've sort of fallen on tough times. And then Devolver Digital just pumps out hit after hit after hit after hit, right? Their latest one being Trek to Yomi, okay? So, you know when you see a game from one of these studios, you get excited, right? All right, so let's talk about this a little bit more. Pros and cons to this type, right? When you use your studio as your brand, right? It can be the most rewarding type of branding when that studio becomes the brand, right? Because you have a consumer group that's actively interested in your success, right? It's the games basically walk themselves into people's houses. You've got Blizzard, who was pumping out hit after hit after hit, and everybody was so stoked every time a new Blizzard game came out, okay? Same thing, Valve. You know, you hear something from Valve, they haven't, people have been waiting how long for Half-Life? And the second that pops up, they're going to buy it, right? Because it's a Valve game, okay? A Valve title. Devolver Digital. They've just put out indie hits after indie hit after indie hit. They seem to have their thumb on the pulse of the indie scene, okay? So these games sell themselves, right? You can just stamp Devolver Digital on something and somebody's going to go, well, yep, I'm going to buy it, right? Yeah, Diablo Immortals. Yikes, for sure. Anyways. And this is perfect. Here we go. Talking about Diablo Immortal. If you betray your studio branding and you lose the hearts of your consumers, it's game over. That's the worst part, right? Game over. Blizzard has done that. Right? And it sucks. They've lost it. It's done. It's game over, right? They have so far to go to try to go back and win the hearts of their loyal fan base, right? They betrayed them. They've put out games that go against everything they ever once stood for, right? Destroying your studio branding can be detrimental, and often it's unrecoverable. Okay? If Blizzard doesn't change the course, they're doomed, right? They're doomed. And Blizzard is the perfect example of this right now as to why studio branding can be so good and so bad if it goes wrong. Okay? Yeah, they used to be the Nintendo. Dude, that's so true. They used to be the Nintendo of CD Projekt Red too. It's true. CDPR is in hot water, right? They were on cloud 9 with The Witcher. And then they betrayed their fan base by putting out Cyberpunk. And even though Cyberpunk's probably in a better state than it was when it released, and a lot of the stuff has been fixed, your image hasn't been fixed. Okay? That's the problem. Okay. So, with that being said, building a brand takes time and effort. Mario wasn't popular overnight. Blizzard wasn't popular when they put out Vikings, right? Devolver Digital's first game probably was great, but took time for that to build, okay? And that's all I got for you on this slideshow. So hopefully that was beneficial. And let's talk about some Illustrator, okay? All right. Yeah, Overwatch being free to play is, I don't know. Taking out loot boxes, maybe try to appease some people, but who knows? Who knows? You just don't know. You don't know. I can't trust them right now, and that's the problem. If this were peak Blizzard and they said, oh yeah, we're gonna make Overwatch free to play, we're following the same model that League of Legends follows, Apex, right? These games, it's great. Yeah, Devolver's first game was Hotline Miami. Yeah, that's true. Yep, it's true. True. So, free to play games can make tons of money, for sure. Look at League. Right? League is insane. So, okay. Let's talk about Illustrator. Any questions that popped up from the stream or from the slideshow? If there's none, let's kind of refresh ourselves on the assignment one more time, right? So you're building a logo for one of these two images, okay? And let's talk about Illustrator. So, when you first jump into Illustrator, it's very similar to Photoshop. Lots of similar things pop up. They give you your cloud files that you've been working in, okay? You can hit new file. There's some things over here on the left-hand side. League got 1,300. Isn't there somewhere where you can tell how much you spent on League? Let's see. Should we see? I don't know if I want to show you guys this. Should we do it? I'm nervous. I've played League since season 3. I don't know. Let's do it. Oh. I don't have anything to say. That's how much free-to-play games can make off of you. So there you go. Ouch. All right. Don't show anyone who loves you. True. True. All right. Okay. So, if we're going to jump into Illustrator, that was unimaginable. What a move. That was a little terrifying. I was not sure what I was about to see there. So, there you go. That was for your viewing pleasure right there, to see my pain. There you go. Okay. Let's start a new file here and talk about some Illustrator. I started playing League in Season 3. Actually, the tail end of Season 2. So, and I don't know what season we're in currently. Couldn't tell you. I don't play a ton anymore, but yeah. Too busy playing JRPGs now. I'm an old guy that just plays JRPGs because they're fun. Okay. So, I'm going to hit new file here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is just do a custom file size. I mean, you could pick any one of these, whatever. It could have been worse though. That's true. It could have been. Let's just make a box, and we're just going to do a 1080 point by 1080 point box. Okay. You can leave all these the same. This is fine. And then let's go ahead and hit create. Okay. It should hopefully not freeze up on us and take us into a file here. Okay, cool. So there are some things that I have put over here on the side that I don't know. I need to get it back to default here. Since season 6 and you've spent 14. Oof. Okay, well, I feel a little bit better then. All right, let's talk about Illustrator, okay? So on the left hand, the nice thing about Illustrator is it's pretty like clean when you first open it up. You can change the workspace to be a couple different things, but the essentials workspace is pretty clean right off the bat. These couple windows that I've put over here are windows that I can show you how to turn on, right? But over here on the left hand side, you've got this very similar to what we have in Photoshop. A couple different tools. Okay. This is your toolbox, right? Up at the top, you've got your standard windows, right? Different windows here. A lot of these we'll talk about in a little while. Okay. Over on the right hand side, you have your properties tab, which is similar to the properties tab in Photoshop. Okay. So if you have something like this and we've drawn something over here, it's going to give you properties of the current thing you have selected. Okay. So if I click on a path, right, and I'm get properties based on that path. You can have layers similar to Photoshop, which is super powerful inside of Illustrator. Different layers, you can assign different paths to different layers. It's very nice. You also have a libraries tab that I kind of have turned off right now that just brings up different things that you can get on Adobe's website. I don't use a ton of this. Okay. So when we're talking about Illustrator, we're talking about vector graphics. Okay. Vector graphics versus raster graphics. Do you guys know the difference? Can somebody type me the difference in chat of vector versus raster? I can also pull it up. to give you guys a refresher. Raster graphics, also called bitmap graphics, are digital images that are composed of tiny rectangular pixels or picture elements that are arranged in a grid of raster of X and Y coordinates, okay? They're arranged in such a way that it creates an image. So, tiny pixels, okay? Vector graphics are different, okay? Vector graphics are computer images creating using a sequence of commands or mathematical statements, right? That place lines and shapes in a two-dimensional or three-dimensional space. In vector graphics, a graphics artist's work or file is created and saved as a sequence of vector statements. They can scale indefinitely. Yes. Okay. Pixels versus mathematically calculated angles. Exactly. Great. You guys know what we're talking about. I love it. Cool. All right. So inside of Illustrator, I need to show you a few different tools. So what you need to understand here is that there's two different types of selection tools inside of Illustrator. Also, the main powerhouse tool inside of Illustrator is your pen tool. Okay. This is a weird tool to try to get used to right off the bat. But once you get used to it, it's really intuitive and very powerful. It can help you create super nice, clean images. Okay. You can create really cool shapes and things using this tool that help you create, you know, really unique shapes and objects very quickly. Right? So, the pen tool is kind of pivotal to how Illustrator functions and operates. Okay. And your mastery of said tool is what's going to determine your, you know, success in the software. So learning and understanding the pen tool is pretty important. And hopefully I can give you some insight on how to do that. Illustrator is meant to build shapes very quickly. Okay. And objects very quickly so that you don't have to do a ton of work in order to create interesting shapes and objects. Okay. So the pen tool allows you to create interesting things. You then have your curvature tool, which is just a more refined, not a more refined, but a pen tool that allows you to create curves. Not that the pen tool can't do curves, but the curve tool is a little bit more responsive, has some AI built into it to help you understand or to guess kind of where you're going with your next click in order to create more smooth shapes. Okay. 3D polygons, vectors. Technically, yes, while they're inside the software, I think. Yes. Okay. So, pen tool and curvature tool are very similar. Do the same things, okay? You also have your shape tools. Okay? You have rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool, star tools, line segment tools. Your rectangle tool and your shape tools are they are the bread and butter of Illustrator, okay? Using shape tools allows you to create shapes and objects that you normally wouldn't be able to create, and they allow you to do it very quickly, okay? Right? I've taken this object here and using a couple simple tools, I can create very interesting shapes and objects very fast, right? I mean, here's a different shape. Here's a different, so it's just the bread and butter is using shape tools and the pen tool in order to create really clean, refined shapes fast, right? So your shape tool, all you're doing is clicking and dragging. You can also click and type in how wide and how tall you want it, right? But you can click and drag to create a shape, okay? The next thing you need to understand is paths inside of Illustrator, okay? your objects are built out of paths. And what you see here along the edge of this object is a path with a fill. Your path can also have a stroke applied to it, and that stroke can be increased or decreased, right? You can turn off fills over here on your properties. You can turn on the stroke. You can increase the size of a stroke, right? So the path is what's defining this shape, okay? And inside of Illustrator, there are two different forms of selection, okay? You have your main select tool, the selection tool. I'm going to call it main select. So every time you hear me say main select, I'm talking about this black selection tool. I'm not just going to call it the selection tool because there's two of them. Then you have the other tool here that's called direct select, okay? And I will call this direct select. So you have main select and direct select. What happens with direct select is different than what happens with main select. When I click this object with main select, things pop up. You get different anchor points that you're able to manipulate. You get these curvature points that you're able to manipulate. Okay? You get different options when you have main select selected. Okay? When you select the same object with direct select, now you are able to actually go in and affect each one of these anchor points individually. Okay? Now I have complete control over this object. I have the ability to move and change the path, right? I have the ability to change the angle of this curvature. I have the ability to click on individual paths or multiple paths in order to change and manipulate this object further, okay? So direct select operates different from main select, and you need to understand the differences between the two. So get in here, drop some objects in, and just start messing with the two different types of selection, okay? With main select, you can change the size of the object, but I cannot directly impact the path itself other than using these curvature tools, okay? I have the ability to click and move this object around. I have the ability to scale it, right? But I do not have the ability to directly affect the path that I do have with main select, or sorry, direct select, okay? Much different object, okay? Much different ability to manipulate the object, right? Okay. So direct select and main select are very important and pivotal to your understanding of how Illustrator operates. So shape tools, direct select, main select, we talked about the pen tools. The next thing you can talk about is the type tool. Type tool works similar to every other type tool you've seen in any other program. Allows you to type text. You can pick different fonts, different stuff like that, okay? Type also has a couple other cool things where you can type vertically, which is kind of cool. You can get yourself the Matrix vibe going on over here, which is kind of cool. Okay. The super powerful one is the typing along a path. So let's say I want to type along this star path. Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. I'm creating my logo. I'm typing along a path. So you have a very interesting ability to type very, intricate, word paths and things like that. Can create and manipulate text in really interesting ways with that. Okay. You then have, rotating tools, which allows you to rotate certain objects based on a point that you select. So if I have both of these selected and I say rotate, I can pick a point of where I want to rotate that based off of, and now it's going to rotate around that axis that I chose, right? If I choose that point over here, now I'm rotating along this axis. It's just a different type of rotation tool that you can use, okay? It's nice, it's helpful, it can be easy to use. So that's your rotate tool. You also have the scale tool and reflect tool. So if you want to reflect something, I don't use this one a whole lot. I always do reflect this way, where I take the object and I transform and reflect it like this, and then use this to reflect. What's this? Oh, thank you. Thanks, bud. Okay. So that's these different tools. We don't need to go too much into this. The shear tool allows you to like chop things off. But for some reason it's not working properly. Okay. You then have the eraser tool, which allows you to erase, very similar to other programs, right? However, this is a path and a stroke. So if I erase part of this object, it's going to try to put a stroke on the object itself. You then have one of probably the most powerful tools inside of the entire software. Okay. Let's say I wanted to take this shape and create a shape based off of this, right? Right now it's two individual shapes. But let's say I wanted to create a unique shape that's a combination of these two things, or you want to create shapes based off of other shapes that you've kind of laid over the top of each other. You have this tool, which is called the shape builder tool. Okay. So this object here, let's just say we put a stroke on this or a fill on this. Okay. This is the shape I'm trying to go for. Right now it's built out of two shapes. If I highlight these by marquee selecting them and then use the shape builder tool, if I click and drag across those, now I have one shape. That quick, super powerful. You kind of saw me do it a little bit earlier when I was just messing around. You also have the ability to subtract shapes out of one another. So let's say I wanted to do the same thing here, but I want to create a shape where, you know, maybe the center piece isn't there. So I click this and now this can get deleted, right? And now I can combine these two shapes. So let's see, maybe that's not the greatest example. Let's do it with something else here. So if I have a shape here like this, and a shape here like this, now let's try this. So I wanted to cut that piece out of there. Now I have the ability to do that, right? I've got these two shapes that I can create. I can also combine these, do all types of things with them now, group them. Okay. So that shape builder can be super helpful. You know, say you're building a certain shape, right? And let's say you need to add, you know, another element to this object. I don't know what this is that I'm building, you know. Where did my shape go? Okay, so now I've got these two elements and I need them to be one shape, right? Bam. Now I've got one shape. Okay. So that's the shape tool, shape builder tool. It's super helpful. If you used Illustrator in the past, this is a newer tool. It's very similar to tools that came before it that are called the what are they called? I can't remember what they're called. What tools were those? Pathfinder tools. Okay. So your Pathfinder tools, right, of the past, where you could intersect, exclude, subtract, minus, back, divide, trim, merge, crop, outline, hard mix, all these different things kind of all got accumulated into this shape builder tool, which make things super easy to use. So let's say you have you want to build a cloud. Kind of let's do exactly what the example is. So we're building a little nice cloud, right? And now I've got this shape and I didn't have to sit there and try to draw a cloud with my pen tool. I just overlapped a bunch of shapes with circles. And now I just use my shape builder tool and run it over all those objects. And now I have, bam, simple cloud that I can control, copy all over the place. I have these clouds that I can use everywhere, right? So very simple, very easy to use, right? The tool is very effective. Okay. Let's talk about, trying to think of anything else to talk about here. Let's talk about, you have your, the gradient tool is nothing crazy to write home about. Eyedropper tools are just grabbing colors. The width tool allows you to change width of objects, which is kind of cool. Let's show you this one. So let's go here. Okay. So I can take that width tool and change the look of this object, right? By using that width tool, I can really change and affect how this thing looks, right? So I can create some pretty interesting shapes by using this tool, right? Shapes and things that I probably wouldn't have thought of before by using the width tool. Very helpful, very easy to use. So think about how that works. You can play with those. What I want you to do today is just get in here and play. And then I want you to also get in and sketch out some stuff, okay? So get in, sketch up some logo things, okay? I can show you an example of where we got to last semester. Let's see if I have it. Don't know if I have it. Let's see. Yeah, the tablet for Illustrator is great. I'm just using a mouse. I haven't hooked up my tablet right now, but yes, I would use the tablet for sure. If you're comfortable with the pen tool, I'd say Illustrator is one of those programs that you can use a mouse and get away with it if you want to. But yeah, I would use your tablet. So if we were going to, you know, start designing our logo, okay, I don't think it's a terrible idea to jump into Photoshop first and just kind of sketch out what you're thinking, okay? And I think I did that in the past. I just don't know where I put it. But you can definitely get in and start sketching out your ideas in Photoshop and then take them to, oh, I'm sorry about the delay on your tablet. But let's say you design something out in Photoshop and then you sketch something up, okay? Let's take, for example, let's see here if I've got anything. don't think I have it. It's okay. But yeah, let's take, for example, let's take into account, I don't know. Let's just come up with a logo quickly for one of these games, right? So maybe we say, I don't know, I kind of like how these cube looking things look. Maybe we design a logo around that and maybe try to come up with a text font. So if you wanted to, you could sketch it out in Photoshop. If not, then you can jump right into Illustrator and just start kind of working. I think I want to do something kind of simple here. You could even sketch it out and think it out inside of Illustrator too if you want. So I think I want to do something like this, because this shape is kind of a super kind of pivotal part of the design of that sort of game. So let's pull this over here and we'll kind of work through it maybe like this. You could also pull this image into, let's do that actually. So we're using our full screen here. Because you can drag and drop images inside of Illustrator and it's fine. We'll just put it on a different layer. So I'll Control X, then I'll jump to the different layer here and Control V it. Then we can pull this in here and kind of keep our inspiration alive over here. So I know okay. Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to try something here. You can do both. I'm kind of building both right now. So, you're building a logo, and you can come up with a name if you want, right? I think I'm going to build a name into this somehow. But I'm building a little icon, I think, that will go with it. So here's the trick too. So if I wanted to turn this object here, although I'm not sure it's exactly what I want to do. I wanted to see if I could do. Okay. So here's my little logo. Pretty simple, but I think I'm going to try to build it into my title here. Just gonna work in paths right now while I'm kind of breaking this up. Okay, kind of like where this is at. What, Chloe? Okay, 1 second. Okay, let's do, I think, I'm trying to think of what I want the, this is a lame name, but I kind of like how it looks. Block plop. Okay. Get why that's not grabbing the whole thing. What? Okay. Okay. I'm just filling in these. And I'm going to do what's called an object expand. If you guys, I don't think we've talked about that, where I'm going to change the stroke and the fill into a shape. So I'm going to go object expand with the fill and the stroke. And that's just going to turn this thing into a shape. I should have just done the fill. Let's see. Object expand. Let's see. Okay, that's fine. Do the same thing with all these. Okay, so now if I fill this with that, I want to do like a okay, so now I'm going to cut these out of here. That's an interesting one. Okay. So I kind of like where this is at. We might refine it a little bit next week. So we'll keep running with this kind of shape that I've got going here for this block plot right now. But this is a good start, right? And then we can maybe take some different looks at it and how maybe we refine this logo a little bit. I'd like to maybe there's some cool tools in here, like a 3D effect that you can do with this, which is kind of cool. We do something like that. So there's some fun things we can do with this. Where you can throw like 3D effects on some of these things and really have fun with it. I don't know if that's exactly what I want to do here, but you can choose the lighting effect and things like that, the depth of it. So, if you want to mess with those settings, it's under effects. So under effect, there's a 3D and materials right here. So there's a bunch of things you can mess with right there. Those are all fun to play with. So we'll keep working with this. I do like kind of where this is going. So we will work with this. But what I want you guys to do is take the next little while and use it for some lab time. And next week we'll refine this a little bit more, maybe increase this, maybe take a look at some of your guys' logos and see if there's some things we can improve on. Remember, this is a 2-week assignment, so take your time. Make something that looks clean and nice, right? Take some time to think about what you're designing. Okay. You can pick whichever one you want, whichever game you want, right? But yeah, I will see you guys next week, okay? If you have any questions or need any help with Illustrator or need help, you know, in general with past assignments or anything like that, please let me know. Please hit us up in the Discord. We're there for you. I've been doing my best to make sure I got no unread messages from students. Already done a couple screen shares this semester with students too, so it's been good. But let me know, and I will talk to you guys next week, okay? All right, everybody. We'll see you. Oh, if you need a little quick intro on or how to save this. Oh, I didn't do attendance questions either. Let's do that real quick. Notepad. We'll do let's do read ability. Color tools in the top right. These are just guides. You can use them to grab different colors. It's just a different way to use your color options that you have here. If you want to use it, it's under window color, and you can just check that box and it will pop up. He's your attendance answer for today. If you want to save your thing, you can just hit save as. You can save it as a cloud model or save it on your computer. I'm going to save it to Creative Cloud. We're going to call this Block Plop, and we'll go on from there. Okay. See you, everybody. See you next week. Have a good one.